Welcome back to another Pokemon TCG tabletop video. In today's video, back at Kansan Games, of course, for another Friday Night League. And this time, we're going to be playing Isaiah Bradner's Gardevoir deck. Now, at this point, I feel a little bit out of touch with these Gardevoir decks, of course, without Refinement Curlia. I haven't really been playing these Gardevoir decks that much, so looking to get back into it. Just going to go ahead, copy the winning list, assuming these guys have put a lot of time into this, and the list has got to be at least pretty good. I debated going for something more like Riley McKay's list, which I think I would have felt more comfortable with. Kind of the dynamics of, Shaman and Screamtail remind me of Manaphy and Screamtail back when we had trade. Additionally, it has the Drifloon and the Charm, which is also kind of what I'm more familiar with, but this was the winning list, so I thought I'd give it a go, see if I could get a sense of it. It's much more Monkey Dory focused than something like Riley McKay's build, right? 4 monkeys, turbo energized E-switch, really just trying to take advantage of Monkey Dory and how broken it is in the current format. Everyone nowadays seems to be talking about it on Twitter and to me at my local League Cup. So let's abuse some Monkey Dory today, and let's get into this first game here, where we run into another Monkey Dory abuser here. James also going to be playing Gardevoir, and we jump in here on maybe his second turn of the game, where he's already rare candying out a Gardevoir EX. I believe he went first on my turn one. I didn't really do much. I got down a Ralts, a Monkey Dory, and a Dark Energy. Pass it off to him, and he's already rare candying out a Gardevoir EX, so not a great start for me. We see him hit the research as well, but one thing we do have going for us is that he started the Mew, he's put down Badoo, so there are a couple of liabilities in play, right? That Badoo essentially just puts us up one prize card whenever we'd like, so even though he is going to be taking the first prize card here, positionally, I think he's in a worse spot. However, my hand is pretty terrible. On turn 1, I did save my Nest Ball, right? I could have used that Nest Ball on turn 1 to get another Ralts or another Monkey Dory, but that's not super helpful. My hand was completely dead, so I did opt to just save it for the Pheasantipity here, and we'll see as the game goes on. This Pheasantipity absolutely puts in work here. No supporter card off the Pheasantipity, but we do manage to find a Curlia and a TM evolution. I do make a mistake here. I've got that Psychic Energy in my hand, and I definitely should have just attached that Psychic Energy onto my active Monkey Dory, right? Let it get knocked out, get it in the discard pile. I should have just done it like that. But regardless here, we're in an okay spot. Should be able to play the game. Down a couple prize cards, but positionally in a decent spot. Our Monkey Dory is at risk, and I do consider this Gardevoir mirror to be about Monkey Dories a lot of the time. Of course, if you let your opponent get too far ahead on prize cards, it doesn't matter how good your board is, especially considering that the list I'm playing today doesn't have a Shaman in it, right? So if my opponent gets down to one prize, Screamtail is just going to pick off, a Monkey Dory, a Curlia, whatever's on my bench, right, for a free prize card, and there's nothing I can do about that. So really going to be wanting to keep James off of one prize card. If we did have the Shaman, right, you can get into some antics where you use Gardevoir EX and several Monkey Dories. Your Gardevoir takes a hit, you retreat it, especially when your opponent isn't playing Drifloon. Like my list isn't playing Drifloon, right? It makes you very susceptible to just Gardevoir EX attacking. You really can't knock it out. And so that's definitely a strategy that could come up. Here we artisan for the Monkey Dory, taking that out of our deck, boost our odds on Pheasantipity of drawing a supporter card, which we do find. We do find that Iono at the top of my hand, pretty hyped for that, as my homie Yudong passes me a non-foil Monkey Dory. I only had 3 of them, so now get that 4th one from him. I don't like the foils. They often warp and can become marked, so I've seen some people get penalties for those and love these non-foil ones. Shout out Kansan for getting me all the cards I need. Anyways, back to the game. We're going to go for the Turbo Energize here before I hit this Iono. Off this Iono, I could always end up attacking, but there are no Psychic Energies in my discard pile, so it would be very difficult. If I knew I was going to draw this Earthen Vessel, maybe I would have attached that Dark Energy from my other hand, and we also got the Secret Box here, so a very nice Iono to get myself back in the game. And here, I've analyzed this a decent amount. I'm not actually certain that this is a misplay, but it is not going to work out for me here. I end up going for somewhat of a passive play here. Ultra Ball, Gardevoir EX, and we are just going to TM Turbo Energize. I talked about how important the monkeys are. These are going to let me kill Badoo. These are going to allow me to build up damage on my opponent's board, potentially kill the Drifloon for free. It has 30 HP, right? We really want to be getting these Dark Energies out. And of course, I am staring down a Drifloon, but I've just Iono'd my opponent to 4. He's only got 2 Psychics in the discard pile, right? So he needs to get 2 more Psychics in the discard pile. And even if my opponent gets 2 more Psychics in the discard pile, that would mean well, because he needs 3 on the Drifloon, and then he needs another one on something on the bench to get damage from Monkey Dory to one-shot me with the Drifloon, right? And so if he commits 6 Psychic Energies to the board and has none in his discard pile, my hand right now is actually Iono Countercatcher. So the idea was that if he does get the 6 energies and he knocks out my Gardevoir EX, I can Countercatcher up his Gardevoir. It's got a 2 retreat cost. He's got 6 energies trapped in play, and then I can start Scream-tailing the bench, take out the Mew EX, Monkey Dory can take out the Badoo, I can Iono him to 2, and he's very, very unlikely to retreat his Gardevoir. However, we run into the worst case scenario here where James actually gets, I believe, all 7 Psychic Energies in the discard pile, so 5 of them on that Drifloon, 1 on the Monkey Dory for the damage he needed, and then another one in there, meaning if I Countercatcher up his Gardevoir EX, which was my plan, now all he needs off of Iono is a simple energy card, a Dark Energy to be exact, or an Earthen Vessel, and he can get out. And so here, I get a little flustered, actually. I really wasn't expecting him to get that strong of a draw. And now I definitely make a misplay here. I figure, my opponent's on 2 prize cards, so I want to use a 1 prize attacker, right? I'm going to use Screamtail. If I'm going to use Screamtail, I might as well try to trap the Gardevoir EX here. But the problem with this play is that, yes, I do prevent my opponent from winning the game on the next turn, but if he just knocks out my Screamtail, he goes to 1 prize, and once he's on 1 prize, the Artisan is in play. That can find him his Screamtail, and there's nothing I can do to stop that. So I think on this turn, I needed to make more of a stand. I think I should have left my Gardevoir EX in the active. Again, double down on the Gardevoir in the active. I could have used Monkey Dory to kill Badoo, Monkey Dory to kill Drifloon, and then Gardevoir EX, kill Mew, and Iono to 2. I think that was actually my best play here, but we end up going for the Screamtail here. And the idea here is that I'm just going to go ahead and Screamtail the Mew EX. This is going to leave all my opponent's energy stuck in play, so he'll be unable to develop another Monkey Dory. He'll have to attach to Gardevoir EX and then Psychic Embrace to retreat. So I was pretty happy about that. He can, of course, use Monkey Dory to just kill my Screamtail here, but I figure if he kills my Screamtail with Monkey Dory, I'm just going to send up my Gardevoir EX, and even if he Drifloons it for 300, I should be good. I can retreat it. I can use double Monkey, triple Monkey even, heal it off, get some free KOs, and go from there. But at this point, I think I'm just going to need my opponent's Screamtail to be prized in order to win. Because otherwise, I think that Screamtail is just going to come in next turn and knock me out, unless this Gardevoir EX stays trapped in the active forever. So I definitely missed a Shaman here. I felt like this game would have been much more attainable with the Shaman, even given the circumstances of that one turn where he got a lot of energies in the discard pile. And you know what? Let me know, guys, down in the comment section down below. What did you think of that Turbo Energized play? Would you ever do a play like that? Or would you have just attacked? Do you think that was a risk I shouldn't have taken? Because maybe it was a mistake. I'm not entirely sure. Would love some feedback on that one, to be honest, as I learned this Gardevoir deck a little more in depth. Oh, and then here, funny enough, my opponent actually tried to Artisan for Pheasantipity. And the funny part was that Pheasantipity would have actually been a game-losing Pheasantipity. It would have allowed me to knock out Badoo, Drifloon, and Fez next turn for the game. And so I thought that was kind of funny. That almost happened, but we get that Pheasantipity back in the deck. Can't Artisan for that. It does have a rule box. And then my opponent actually makes a high-level play that really annoyed me. It's so annoying when your opponents play well. So he used Monkey Dory to kill the Screamtail. Oh, I guess he hasn't actually done it yet. My bad. He used Monkey Dory to kill the Screamtail, and now he's actually just going to pass instead of hitting my Gardevoir for 300. And if he hit my Gardevoir for 300 here, I don't actually remember if I had all the cards to do this, but there is a play available to me where I use 2 Monkey Dories to heal my Gardevoir. That's going to kill the Drifloon, and it's going to kill the Badoo. And then I think that Gardevoir on the bench has 50 damage on it. And so what I could do is put 6 energies on my Screamtail, E-switch 1 to my active Gardevoir, retreat it, heal 30 off my Screamtail onto the Guardy, I think, or onto... Oh, I'm like losing the play. It was a crazy play where I E-switched to get my energies in the discard pile, and then I could get 7 energies on my Screamtail and Screamtail the Guardy for 260. I think it may have also needed a 3rd Monkey Dory. I can't remember exactly, but if he did hit in there, I would have had the opportunity for a 4 prize play, courtesy of Energy Switch. But smartly, he doesn't hit in. He just passes off the turn, assuming I mean, he's just going to win the game on the next turn with Screamtail. Potentially could get blown out here by a Shaman. I think a Shaman here would most likely win me the game, but of course, don't have the Shaman here, just setting up best I can. In case that Screamtail is his final prize card, I want to make sure I'm set up as well as possible to win on the next turn, but he does have that Screamtail, and we do lose this game. But fortunately for us, James actually had to go to work after this, and so he ends up just giving me the win, thanking me for the game, and we end up with the win, even though we did lose a very interesting game. I'm definitely open to some thoughts on this one in the comment section down below. Getting into our second game here, another interesting one where we're up against Garchomp, which I can't say going into it I knew the optimal plan. I do think this matchup is relatively okay. I think especially with this quad Monkey Dory build, I'm actually feeling pretty good about, my opponent can't really kill Gardevoir. I mean, I definitely can't really kill Garchomp either, but we do have a lot of Monkey Dories. We can send back a lot of damage. Another key piece of this matchup is going to be Mew EX. Actually very strong for copying Garchomp's attack, does 260 damage, and then it also discards all attached energies, which is a really big deal because you can attach, you could attach 6 Psychic Energies onto Mew EX, use 4 Monkey Dories to heal it, and then discard all the energies and then repeat that process again on the next turn. So that's going to be a pretty strong combo. We'll see me do that at some point in this game. Additionally, I think Screamtail is a very important piece of this matchup, just having the ability to go around the Garchomps, take out the Roselias, the Monkey Dories, the Gabites, really any frail Pokemon, because another key player of this matchup is going to be the Spiritomb. And for this game, I will let you guys know that I actually completely forgot that Spiritomb was a card. I did play against this deck before at the Masters Cup when I was playing Pulsard. And of course, Fabian was playing the Spiritomb, but it just never really came up as I never really was hitting into Pokemon. And so I'm sure I saw it at one point, but it never really stuck in my brain that that was a card. So for those of you that don't know, the Spiritomb does 10 damage for every damage counter on all of his Cynthia's Pokemon. So if I leave too much damage on his board, I'm going to get blown up by a Spiritomb. And one other piece of the card that I didn't know that is important is that it doesn't apply weakness, right? So Gardevoir EX, weak to dark, but that doesn't matter because the attack does not do weakness. Anyways, as we get going here in the game, pretty strong starts from both of us. We see myself, of course, with a draw supporter. Very nice in comparison to last game to have one of those. That is one weakness of this Gardevoir deck. You kind of just got to have a draw supporter in your opening hand if you want to play the game, and this time we do. My opponent had Gabite, which is kind of all he needs in order to play the game, and we're going to get going here with the TM evolution as well. Kirlia and Gardevoir hitting the field. Now, we don't have any dark energies in play, but we can definitely build those up over time, and that shouldn't be too much of a problem. Onto my opponent's turn here, he's going to use 2 of the Gabite's abilities. I think another Roserade is going to be hitting the board, and that means that he'll be doing 160 damage with the Garchomp attack that I definitely don't know the name of, but does 100 damage, and then he draws until he has 6 cards. So pretty strong attack for my opponent. He's going to thin down his hand of as many cards as possible. I think an Arven's coming down and some more development for his board. But coming on to my side, I think my best approach going into this next turn would most likely just be to Screamtail one of the Roserades, maybe the Gabite, just kind of start picking apart my opponent's board, develop some Monkey Dories. I mean, I mentioned how the Mew EX does 260. These Garchomps have 400 with the Cynthia's Power Weight, I believe it's called. And so I think the best approach for knocking out a Garchomp is to get 2 Monkey Dories down, put 60 damage on a Garchomp, and then develop a third Monkey Dory that moves 90 over to get it to 150. And then we can knock it out with Mew EX. And so I think the best approach from here would be to use Screamtail like a lot of times, take one prize over and over and over and over again. And then at the very end, after we build up some Monkey Dory damage onto the Garchomp, we come in with the Mew EX for that big one shot and close out the game. Now here, I don't have a whole lot going on in my hand, and I actually kind of get blown out here by the fact that my third Earthen Vessel is prized. What I wanted to do here was Arven Vessel for double dark, and then I don't remember exactly what I was going to do with that, but I mean, develop a Monkey Dory for sure. But now we end up in a spot where we don't have any dark energies, and in my hand, I don't have any ways to find dark energies. And my hand is actually also completely dead besides this Mew EX. So we're just going to go ahead and put down the Mew EX, and we're going to be drawing some cards here, really looking for a dark energy. And if I don't find one, I think I'll be using the TM Turbo Energize. Here also, I bench lock out a Screamtail, which I think was a major blunder. The idea was to use Counter Catcher to, kill the Roserade. If I hit a Dark Energy there, I would have been able to put my Gardevoir EX out of range of the Garchomp attack. Because I'd be killing a Roserade, healing some damage. I believe, maybe I'm actually mistaken there. But the idea was to get a Dark Energy here, heal off my Gardevoir EX, and actually I might have even just gone for a triple monkey setup, but this turn was really just a blunder for me. I should have gotten down Screamtail instead of the third monkey, and then probably just end up using Screamtail to kill the bench Roserade, or maybe instead of using the Turbo Energize here, I could have just killed the Roserade. I mean, that does put my Gardevoir at risk, which is not great, but of course the benefit of that is that my opponent will be discarding all the energies off his Garchomp. But the problem was that I prized my vessel, and so I felt like I needed to establish dark energies, and the TM Turbo Energize was a way for me to do that. I suppose I could have also used TM Turbo Energize, like retreat and energize with literally anything that isn't this Gardevoir EX, because now, of course, my opponent has perfect math. On the second attack, it does 260. His attacks do 60 more, so 320 minus 30 resistance. He's doing 290 for a perfect one-shot here. Now, I was aware that this was a possibility, but I felt like if this happened, I would be able... I have Iono, so I'm going to Iono my opponent down to 3, and then he has no energies in play, and so I felt pretty good about this position, even though I did just get my Gardevoir blown up. Now I just have a fantastic board. I think kind of a general theme from this video is that I think I'm not playing enough for the prize trade with Gardevoir. I'm too focused on my board and developing a really strong board, because with Poltzard, generally the prize trade is pretty unimportant, and you can make some really sick comebacks, unfair stamp, counter catcher, whereas I just don't feel that same level of comeback potential from Gardevoir. You kind of want to play from 1 or 2 prizes behind. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe I'm just tripping and there's plenty of comeback potential and I just need to figure out what I'm doing here. But we end up again not going for the Screamtail. I rebench the Ralts in case my Gardevoir EX gets knocked out again. Although for that to happen, it would be like really impossible. So again here, I think I just need to be going for the Screamtail here. Screamtail knocking out a Roserade. Instead, I go for the Gardevoir Punch. My opponent luckily whiffs the Spiritomb attack, which is very nice for me. That would have done like 280 damage or so. Of course, no weakness. But in the moment, I thought that if he hit an energy there, I was dead. And so here now, we're in actually a little bit of an awkward spot. Bench lock out of the Spiritomb, or out of the Screamtail, sorry. My really only attacker is this Gardevoir EX. And it's not a great attacker. I don't really want to put it at risk. And at this point, I am piling loads and loads of damage onto my opponent's board. And Spiritomb will be one-shotting my Pokemon for the rest of the game. I feel like I don't really have any other option because I've bench locked out of the Screamtail. I've used my counter catcher, so I can't, for example, knock out the Garchomp on the bench. And so I end up just going for the Mew EX play here. We're going to use 3 monkeys, kill the Spiritomb, and then discard all the energies. Pretty nice for me. I can continue to do so moving forward, just do more Mew EX attacks, and that's going to be nice for me. Here, of course, we're not completely doomed yet. My opponent still needs to develop a Spiritomb this turn. I think at this point it's dealing like 4,000 million damage. I don't even know, but all my stuff said there's a 260 on the active Garchomp and 190 on the bench, so 360, 450 from that Spiritomb. Yeah, I am dead. Even with a Hero's Cape, I'd be knocked out here. So I'm not sure exactly what my opponent's going for here. The Gabite finds the second Spiritomb, which I wasn't really expecting. I kind of figured my opponent would need to find a Night Stretcher here, but I was mistaken. There are 2 Spiritombs, which I guess makes a lot of sense with the Gabite and the kind of lack of draw power my opponent's deck has. But anyways, the Spiritomb comes out, kills the Mew EX in here. I am down 5-1 on prizes. But I feel like this position is actually not that bad, right? My opponent has no energies in play. I'm going to be taking out this Spiritomb. I do have the triple Monkey Dory set up. Gardevoir EX is very difficult for my opponent to kill. Both of his Spiritombs are in the discard pile. So I'm off this Iono to 1. He's going to need to find a Spiritomb and an energy to knock out my Gardevoir, or potentially a Boss's Orders and an energy to attack with Garchomp for the game. That could probably knock out a Monkey Dory, right? So it's definitely not going to be easy for my opponent to close out this game, but we do have a long way to go. One other thing I should mention is that my Boss's Orders is prized, And so if my opponent just starts creating a revolving door of Garchomps, right, he's got, I mean, that Gabite on the bench is going to become the third Garchomp. It's going to be very difficult for me to close out this game. Now we go ahead with the Iono. Just going to go for the play that I just said. Guard X is coming out. I'm not sure what's going on here. I think I'm just kind of, I'm waiting to retreat. What is happening? Okay. Yeah, I mean, a little bit weird there, but yeah, I retreat the Ralts. I use a bunch of monkeys to kill the Roserade, and then I just knock out the Spiritomb, going down to, do I have 4 prizes left? Okay, I definitely just like forgot to take a prize at some point. I should have 3 for sure. I hope that turn that I just only took 1. You know what? I think I remember this. I think I do end up just drawing this prize during my next turn. I think I realize I should be on 3 here, but anyways, my opponent here gets a Ultra Ball. No, sorry, yeah, they get the Vessel. Now I'm getting all flustered and confused. What's going on here? Sorry, Vessel for the fighting energy is what he draws off the Iono to 1, and then he just decides to pass. I thought this was a little strange. I wasn't sure exactly why he didn't go for the attack here, right? He could put the fighting on. Probably didn't want to give me a bunch of damage for all my Monkey Dories, but that would have let him draw up to 6. And at this point, I am sitting on an Iono. Now, I debate whether or not I should play this Iono. Do I care that much about fighting energy? But I end up deciding that I do care about this fighting energy. If my opponent top decks Spiritomb, or sorry, not Spiritomb, but Night Stretcher, Arven for Night Stretcher, that would let him win the game. So I get rid of one of his pieces, kind of force him to find, again, the 2-piece combo if he wants to win the game here. Now we get the second Gardevoir EX online. We're going to get that retreating extra Monkey Dory damage coming out. And here we set up to win on the next turn of the game. That Garchomp goes up to 320 damage on the bench, I believe. And my opponent just hits Neo Upper Energy and Boss to win the game. And I think that actually had to be Neo Upper and not even just fighting. So I think my opponent obviously got lucky on that final Iono, but the bottom line of this game was just that I needed to be Scream Tailing a lot more than I did. I mean, there was like 400 damage on my opponent's board and no knockouts were taking place. So definitely a pretty suboptimal line for me. I wonder if like the Screamtail was prized. I hope the Screamtail was prized and I'm just forgetting that, but I'm pretty sure my Screamtail was just in my deck the whole time and I just wasn't doing it. So if you ever play against Garchomp with Gardevoir, definitely want to be using Screamtail. Getting into our next game here, we've got a game against Joltik box, which I think is supposed to be a good matchup for Gardevoir. But of course, without the Drifloon, it is going to be a little harder for us to deal with those Iron Hands. Also, if they get a really quick start going, I could be in a lot of trouble. Here, my opponent goes first. Not much going on for him, but even less going on for me as he gets the Jolting charge onto the Iron Hands. And I top deck Monkey Dory just in time to not get donked. Very exciting for me. I've got a little bit going on in my hand. I also have a TM Evolution and a Curlia, so we're just going to go ahead and get that Guardy out, but not much going on in the hand here. Not even a Nest Ball for Pheasantipede, just our Gardevoir EX. My opponent comes in with the Amp on the Monkey Dory, and I promise this game actually does get interesting. We top deck a Supporter just in time to not get completely owned here. We're just going to go ahead and smack in with our Gardevoir. We actually, it was so funny. I was about to get donked. I top decked Monkey, and then this turn I top decked to the third Psychic Energy to attack, pressure the Iron Hands here, and my opponent's actually going to opt to retreat out, and he's going to get the Iron Leaves involved here. Doesn't want his energies to be knocked out, right? Say he were to just arm press the Gardevoir. I'm obviously just going to kill his Iron Hands on the next turn, and at that point, what is he really attacking with? And I guess he didn't really have an answer to that question, so he goes in with the Iron Leaves here, smacking to my Guardy, and a top deck Arven for the secret box. Now this is going to get me a lot of options. It's going to get me a Supporter for next turn. I'm thinking Iono is my best bet. It's going to get me hopefully an attacker that isn't Gardevoir EX, but we don't have a lot of Psychic Energies, and so I feel a little stuck here. I also have to secret box away both my candies, and so if my Gardevoir EX goes down, then we're not going to have a Gardevoir EX for 2 turns. But anyways, we get the Mew down, we get a Monkey Dory down off of the Artisan, and then we get to draw a few cards with Mew before deciding what we're going to attack with this turn. I really only have 2 options, attack with Gardevoir EX or attack with Monkey Dory. I think I actually also have Screamtail in my hand. And to be honest, I think Screamtail here might have been a better option than this Monkey. For those of you that don't know, the Iron Leaves can't attack 2 turns in a row. And so I'm mind bending here, but the mind bend doesn't really actually do anything because the leaves can't attack. And if my opponent has Prime Catcher to reset the Iron Leaves, that's going to reset the Confusion as well. And that's also going to KO my Gardevoir EX. Boss's Orders here doesn't cut it for my opponent. Of course, he wants to target down my Gardevoir EX, which I'm kind of protecting on the bench here. Next turn, we're going to get to Iono and do lots of cool things. And so very crucial turn here. Does my opponent have a Prime Catcher? Doesn't look like it. They're just going to retreat and pass off the turn. Unable to attack. I go for the Iono. We're going to get a bit of a development going on here. And now I decide to go into the Screamtail, which I think I should have done last turn. Last turn, I could have potentially used Screamtail to kill the Iron Hands. And then this turn, I'm not entirely sure what I would do, but I could do something. But now here, we're just going to go ahead, Monkey onto the Iron Hands. And we actually high roll the energy switch too. So we're going to be able to kill the Iron Hands with the Monkey Dory. And now we're going to go ahead and Screamtail onto the Iron Leaves, setting it up to also be KO'd. 60 damage on that Iron Leaves. Screamtail is going to do 120 more to it. So it's got 40 HP left. And so we're threatening to take out all of my opponent's energies on the next turn with potentially double Monkey Dory, or it could also be another Screamtail attack. And all of a sudden, there's been a major shift in momentum. I think if my opponent could have weaved in multiple jolting charges somehow, that might have been good, right? Like on turn 1, he sets up the hands. And then on turn 2, maybe instead of amping, just like jolting charge again, set up a second hands. And then he probably wouldn't have run into this issue of not really having a lot of viable attackers. But anyways, here he goes ahead and gets the Crispin. Again, no Boss's Orders onto our Gardevoir EX, which we were very vulnerable to. I also make another small mistake here. I promote the Mew EX. Oh no, sorry, that's not a mistake. Usually you want to promote your Gardevoir to generate extra damage by retreating, but here my Gardevoir has a ton of damage on it already, so there's no need for me to try to get even more on it. And here I think we set up what is probably close to a checkmate position. We could use Double Monkey to kill the Iron Leaves, but I don't really see a reason to do that. That gives my opponent Fez, makes me draw less cards off Iono, opens up a bench space for them to get down, I don't know, Blood Moon maybe, I guess, or I don't know, something that's threatening. And so I end up just putting a bunch of damage on both of the Pokemon. Even if my opponent finds a Bravery Charm here, the damage is set up in a way that I think I win regardless. I can either get out Triple Monkey, or I can use Screamtail, right? Like, say, I mean, maybe if he charmed the Latias and the Iron Leaves, I could be in trouble here and unable to take my last 4 prize cards. But I think even in that case, I would have been okay. And my opponent's just going to go ahead, take out the Mew, and I'm just going to use Monkey Dory to take 4 prizes and close out a game where we had a very rough start. Yes, this deck does dead draw a lot, but it is also very powerful to the point where even the games where you dead draw a little, you can definitely make some comebacks, especially against some better matchups. I mean, some matchups it's very hard to recover, but the Joltik box is definitely one where if they don't have boss, you can definitely pull out some crazy comeback wins. In round 4, we run into a Raging Bolt, another deck which I think is a good matchup for Gardevoir, but you know, given some early aggression, you can always get run off the board in, I mean, pretty much any matchup, but definitely against Joltik Box and Raging Bolt, these decks put on a lot of pressure. My opponent had a decent turn 1, got the Baby Bolt in the active, a Hoot Hoot on the board. He is kind of threatening the turn 2 Baby Bolt attack, right? Knocked Owl for Energy Switch Crispin, and then he'll be able to snipe a Kirlia I have on the bench. Now here, I get 2 Ralts down, I Iono, and you might see that pink card at the top of my hand, the Secret Box, and I debate, you know, Secret Box for TM Evolution, Earthen Vessel, and I can TM Evo into double Kirlia. However, my opponent could just use Baby Bolt to kill one of the Kirlia, so I felt like that was actually fairly low value, and I figured Raging Bolt doesn't really play Hand Disruption, definitely won't play Hand Disruption if they want a Sada and attack here. And so I end up just deciding to keep the Secret Box. And now next turn, I can Secret Box for Rare Candy out the Gardevoir. I think I might already have the Rare Candy in hand, actually. And so I figure the Secret Box can just get me a Candy Guardy play. Whereas if I did the TM Evolution, then I would still have to find the Gardevoir on the next turn. My opponent here has a very underwhelming turn, to be honest. No Baby Bolt attack, just going to go ahead and get 70 damage onto the Screamtail with the Fan Rotom. I'm not sure if I like this. I think maybe a pass could have been better, because now this just gives me a lot of damage to work with on my Screamtail. Perhaps just like put some energies on the Baby Bolt, pass off the turn, and then next turn look to do something cool. But regardless, I would have had a very strong turn here. We see the Gardevoir EX come down, Monkey Dory, Ultra Ball, tons of stuff here. We're just going to go ahead and grab the Fez. Mostly we just want to get that Psychic Energy into the discard here. Fez just going to go into my hand. I think my hand right now is completely dead except for that Fezandipity, so that's definitely going to be a nice pickup for me. And then we're just going to go ahead, heal off our Screamtail, get some damage onto the Fan Rotom, and take out a Hoot Hoot. I think I could have gone for something here like a Screamtail into the Latias with the Monkey Dory ping for 190, kind of set that up and look for some 2-prize KOs. That might have been a stronger move, but I felt like here just taking apart my opponent's draw support system was pretty strong. I think in a situation like this, when you get to be the first one to attack, you're probably just going to find a winning route regardless. But my idea here, I take that 1 prize. My Monkey Dories are eventually going to kill this Fan Rotom for free, and then I'll just kill 2 2-prizers to close out the game. You know, maybe 2 bolts or a bolt and a Fez with the Screamtail again, or who knows, bunch of different options for me to KO these 2-prize Pokemon. Additionally here, I know most Raging Bolt decks only play 1 boss, 1 prime. 1 boss and 1 prime as far as gusting effects go. So I think it's impossible for my opponent to get a 2/2/2 prize map here. Something you'll see come up a lot in Pokemon is you'll take a 1 prize KO on your first turn, and then your opponent will just take 2 prizes every turn as you take 2 prizes as well. And of course, they'll take their 6 prizes before you at that rate. But Raging Bolt not capable of doing that, only 2 gusting effects, and as long as I don't put my Gardevoir EX in the active, I should be good. And immediately we see the Screamtail go down, so it's going to take my opponent 3 attacks to win from here, and so my plan is to just win in 3 attacks before they can, right? That could mean a lot of different things, but I'm just going to choose whichever line feels most convenient to me. We're going to go ahead and use Double Monkey to take out that Fan Rotom for free, force my opponent to send something up, and then we're going to get another attack off. Now here, I actually don't even need to take another 2 prizes here. So my opponent needs 3 turns in order to win, so I can take 3 turns. And so here, I'm actually just going to go ahead, kill another Hoot Hoot, go down to 3 prizes, and now at this point, I'm winning in 2 attacks, and my opponent is winning in 3. So we're just going to take a passive line here. No need to try to like Screamtail the Fez for 160 and risk, potentially like a Professor Turo scenario or a Bravery Charm, kind of screwing up my day here. So I'm just going to go ahead and take the easy prizes. Here, my opponent's going to go ahead, boss up that Fez, realizing he's way behind in the prize trade. Going to get a 2-prize knockout here, but I think at this point, the game is open and shut. We're going to go ahead and set up somewhat of a checkmate position. We're on 3 prizes, so the idea here is let's take 2 prizes, go down to 1. Our Screamtail will threaten to win the game, right? Screamtail can KO Noctowl whenever we want. And then we just need to put down another Pokemon that can KO Raging Bolt if my opponent were to use that to attack, as that is the most bulky Pokemon in my opponent's deck, right? So what we're going to do, this Fez goes down. We're just going to bench Clefairy. I think Mew EX also works, right? Mew EX can copy Bellowing Thunder for 4,000 damage. I don't know, a lot of damage with the Bellowing Thunder. So you can either put down Mew EX here or the Clefairy, and then you're setting up kind of a double threat position, right? Screamtail is threatening to win the game for my final prize, and Mew EX is threatening to win the game for my final prize. I think I end up thinking about this for a little bit, like, oh, is Mew or Clefairy better? And I just go for the Clefairy. I don't think it matters. I think they both just win the game. I don't know. Let me know in the comment section down below here if you think I should bench Mew here instead of Clefairy. If it matters, I'm not really sure. But one thing I do definitely open myself up to here is some kind of stall play. There's only 1 Psychic Energy in my discard, so like Prime Catcher, Gardevoir EX, and then like Iono to 1, Baby Bolt attack the bench, maybe something like that could be concerning. So maybe that's the reason why Mew EX would be better here. But regardless, we're just going to see this checkmate position play out. My opponent's going to knock out the Clefairy, go down to 1 prize, and the Screamtail is going to come in and close out the game onto the Noctowl. Additionally, the Monkey Dories could also close out the game onto the Noctowl. And so although my opponent does get to 1 prize here, I think his start was too slow, and this game was somewhat doomed for him as soon as I, attacked first. That's just going to put me in way too good of a position. So we're going to win this one, and we're going to be 3-1 going into our last round here. Now, in our last round here, we run into Ethan, who we played against last week, I believe also in our final match. He was playing Grimmsnarl last week. We were playing Poltzart, and we were able to take that one down. He actually dead drew pretty horrendously, and here he goes attach pass to Shaman. But don't worry, he has an Arven in his hand this time, so we're going to have a competitive game. I kick it off with an Arven, and this time he's playing Grimmsnarl, I'm playing Gardevoir, so I feel like I'm on the wrong side of this one. Additionally, we start the Mew EX, which is not the optimal starter, and one other key piece of information is that we prize our Screamtail, which is going to be very, very annoying, and we'll be talking about that as the game progresses. But for now, we do have a solid start. I believe I also have another supporter card in my hand. Research, Iono, Arven, I'm not really sure, but we're going to see a steady flow of cards for me. And Ethan as well, as he gets that secret box off, just going to be developing his board. I wasn't exactly paying attention to what he got there, but I think it was Poffin, Artisan, Board, and Iono for next turn. It might have been Research, depending on the resources in his hand, but I believe he did go for the Iono. Interestingly enough here, he's going to opt to not set up a Frostlass. I think this strategy makes a lot of sense against the Isaiah Bradner 4-monkey build, because quite often I'm actually going to be able to use the damage counters from Frostlass better than Ethan, right? Like just triple monkey, knock out his monkey, triple monkey, knock out his Frostlass. Whereas if he was running into something more like Riley McKay's build from NAIC, then I think the Frostlass makes a lot more sense, right? That version, no energy switch, no turbo energize, only 3 monkeys, going to be a little harder for them to abuse those monkeys, especially assuming that Ethan is playing 4. Now here we get the Iono, we get the Dark Energy onto the Monkey Dory, and here I have access to Gardevoir EX, but I just don't do it. And I think also one other thing I should do here, which is kind of bizarre, but I think I should have retreated my Monkey Dory into Mew EX, because I actually don't really care about the prize cards. This is a very positional matchup. I need to get, I think, 4 monkeys onto my board, honestly, to kind of dissuade any kind of spread tactics. You know what? Maybe when Ethan doesn't set up the Frostlass, I don't need 4 monkeys, but what else am I really setting up here, to be honest? Like, Screamtail's prized. I could put down Clefairy. Clefairy's pretty nice, right? It's weak to metal, and with no Frostlass, Ethan's going to have a difficult time KOing it. So maybe that could be nice here. But anyways, I think Ethan also kind of struggling here. He kind of knows that I just passed. I think I told him I had the Guardy and I didn't use it. I don't know why I did that, but I kind of gave him some free information that I didn't want to be the one initiating here. So he's going to go ahead and also not initiate, just going to go ahead and Devo my Raltzes, buy some time for him to maybe get down some more Monkey Dories. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe he's waiting for Boss onto the Mew EX, which is kind of funny because I'm waiting. I want my Mew EX to die, so bit of a funny interaction, a little stalemate here at the start of the game. Now, I think here, again, I'm kind of faced with a dilemma. If I were to KO this Shaman, it's very plausible that Ethan just immediately counter catchers up my Gardevoir and blows it up, and Ionos me, which just feels like a bad position to be in. Maybe I'm being too passive in situations like these, but I just go ahead, TM Evo out the triple monkey, sacrifice the Mew, and I'm just looking to play a very strong board state from behind in prizes, which doesn't feel too bad to me. We're going to be looking to Mind Bend the Grimmsnarl and get a little annoying. Now, where the Screamtail comes in here, right? So if this Mew were to die, which, I mean, it's going to die. He's just going to go ahead and kill the Mew EX here. Screamtail would be really nice, because what I could start doing is I could go, triple monkey, knock out the Shaman. Well, actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. What I want to do is Mind Bend the Grimmsnarl, and then I can triple monkey, kill Shaman, and then I can Screamtail snipe the bench. First, I'll snipe out the second Morgrim, then I'll start sniping out monkeys, and just leave the Grimmsnarl in the active confused for basically infinity and beyond. But the problem here is that I don't have Screamtail, and so it's going to get really awkward for me. Yes, I am going to Mind Bend this Grimmsnarl here, which feels very strong, but I don't really have a way to capitalize on this Grimmsnarl kind of being stuck in the active, and Ethan's just going to get to flip a lot of coins, and eventually some of them are going to be heads. Now here we get the secret box off. just gonna, further our setup. Oh, one other thing I should mention is that Boss's Orders is also prized, and I think we do have Counter Catcher. I don't entirely remember if we have access to the Counter Catcher. I feel like if I had the Counter Catcher here, I might have just used it to kill the Morgrim. I don't know. It's kind of awkward, right? Because we do want to confuse the Grimmsnarl, sorry. And so then we don't really want to be using Counter Catcher. We really do want to be using Screamtail. Ah, yes. I end up just going for the quadruple monkey play here. We're just going to go quadruple monkey onto Ethan's monkey, get the free KO there. No sense killing the Shaman if I don't have the Screamtail of my own. And then we're just going to go in with the Mind Bend. Yep, here we go. 4 monkeys onto his monkey. And then we're just going to hit the Mind Bend here. Now we're down 1 prize, 5-4. I almost wonder, I think actually this turn, I should have gone quadruple monkey onto the Morgrim. That would have been much better, because then he wouldn't be able to set up another Grimmsnarl, and he would actually have to just keep flipping for infinity and beyond. So I think a little bit of a mistake there. The Monkey Dory, not actually that threatening to me. Ethan can, of course, just establish more of those, where I think the Grimmsnarls and the Morgrims are a little more of a pain to set up, right? We're sending an evolution to the discard. If he wants to put down another Impidimp, that's a little easier for me to KO, right? Only 70 HP, just a triple monkey, pretty easy to do. And yeah, we see that Monkey Dory just immediately come back onto the field. Research replenishing the hand here. And he's actually just going to end up flipping for this attack here. I pass him the dice. He's just going to move the damage onto my monkey, trying to get it off the board, and then he's going to flip tails and damage himself. Now, I was actually kind of annoyed by that tails. I almost wanted him to flip heads and kill that Monkey Dory, because it has 3 of my psychic energies on it, and Monkey Dory only has a 1 retreat cost, so that makes his position actually very, very awkward for me. Now here, we go for the triple monkey onto the Shaman, just because it's the only thing I can kill with my damage. And then we're just going to put 60 more damage onto the Grimmsnarl. And I mean, it's already confused. We really just want this Monkey Dory to die. But now Ethan finds the Boss's Orders. Of course, we're tied on 4 prizes, so Counter Catcher is no good. I think also last turn, I could have just attached more psychic energies, maybe like 2 more onto my other Gardex, and then take out the Morgrim. Because, yeah, now Ethan gets the double Grimmsnarl, which is going to let him retreat between the Grimmsnarls whenever he wants, right? So this attack especially puts him down to 2 prizes. And so now, as soon as he finds his other Boss's Orders, he can just retreat into the other Grimmsnarl and then take out my other Gardevoir EX with Boss. So I think I definitely needed to prioritize killing that second Morgrim heavier than I did. I'm just very used to my opponents putting down Frostlass, in which case you get more damage, you can take the monkeys out, and you don't have to be as concerned about those Grimmsnarls. You're really fighting for the monkeys, as they're going to accrue a lot of damage with Frostlass. Now here, the bench spot opens up. I'm able to get down the Clefairy, the only Pokemon in my deck that Grimmsnarl cannot one-shot. And here we're just going to rip the research. We saw Ethan Pokegear for Boss's Orders. And so I make a read here that he just doesn't have Boss's Orders in hand. Why would he use his Pokegear if he had the second boss in his hand, right? So no need to Iono. I'm not sure if I even had an Iono, but if I did, I probably would have just researched regardless. Now we're going to get the Gardevoir onto the bench. Monkey Dory is going to come up into the active again. I think I'm a little shy here on damage in order to knock out this Grimmsnarl. 30 damage on it. I must be shy, or else I would have just gone in with the Clefairy here for a knockout. So we're just going to generate some more damage onto this Grimmsnarl, and we're going to have to hope a few things here. One, we're dead to Monkey Dory Dark. Yeah, and he has that, right? So now he can put 90 onto one of the benched Monkey Dories, and if he flips heads, then he will win the game. I wonder, potentially there, I could have just... Well, no, I can't do that. I was going to say I could just retreat into my Clefairy and pass. But if I pass, then he's just going to pass until he finds Boss's Orders and then take his last 2 prizes onto my Gardevoir EX. So we needed to go for that Mind Bend. He does flip tails, which is a huge break for me. And now we do have enough damage between our own Psychic Embraces and the Clefairy's attack to KO this Grimmsnarl and go down to our final 2 prizes. That Grimmsnarl on Ethan's bench also only has 1 Dark Energy on it. So for him to win the game, he's going to need a Boss's Orders and a Dark Energy. Now you will see that Boss's Orders is actually at the top of his hand there. So if he finds a Dark Energy, we are going to be in trouble. Now here, of course, my mindset is just that he doesn't have the winning combo. If he doesn't have the winning combo, how do I set myself up as well as possible to win? I'm going to need to take another 2 prize turn. So that's going to mean either KOing double monkeys or somehow one-shotting the Grimmsnarl. Let's see. I think I actually waste too much damage here. I needed to keep more damage on my board. I put 120 onto that Grimmsnarl. I definitely didn't need to put that much damage on. I probably could have kept some amount. I could have kept 60. I did need to heal the Clefairy so that I don't lose to just a Dark Energy. But I could have left 60 damage on my Bench Monkey Dory there. Oh, wow. I just realized that. Yeah, what a throw. Okay. Yeah, because here now, Ethan's just going to go ahead. Arven, that's going to get him the Dark Energy. And now he's saving the boss's orders in his hand to win on the next turn, right? Just next turn, he's going to boss up the Gardex, and he's going to knock it out with Grimmsnarl. And here, if I had 60 damage on my monkey, then I could just put 3 energies onto my Gardex, quadruple monkey his Bench Monkey, knock it out, and then knock out his active and win the game. That's too bad, but I missed it. I healed too much damage that I didn't need to, and now we're just in a really awkward position. My boss is prized, or else I would boss up the Grimmsnarl and probably Mind Bend it again, but yeah, we just go ahead and Mind Bend, and then he's going to boss the Guardy and win the game. So overall, I feel like at times I played well, but I think the theme of this video was that I was too passive in most situations, and then just made a lot of clumsy positional mistakes here, healing too much damage against the Garchomp player, not using Scream Tail enough against my round 1 Gardevoir opponent, just too passive, should have taken more prize cards. And then I had that calculated risk in round 1, which I thought was fine, but who knows, maybe I'll get flamed in the comment section down below. But that's going to be all for this Guardy video. Definitely a very tactical video, some intense strategy and setting up KOs and whatnot. So let me know as well in the comment section down below what decks you guys want to see me play next at League. I've done Dragapult, I've done Guardy, maybe thinking a Raging Bolt or a Grimmsnarl's in order. So let me know, and I'll see you guys in the next video.